What's going on? This is nothing against God. It may have something to do with the preaching and or teaching of the word. If you have any comments, let me know. I'm willing to accept any comments, I guarantee. This is nothing but like a conversation you and I have, right? If you can disprove what I say, let me know. I ain't found it yet. Now they say you're supposed to give 10% of your earnings to God. That's what they say. They say in the Bible it say give tithes. Then people come up with 10%. Some people probably come up with 20%. You know what I'm saying? But I think everybody pretty much agrees. In general, it's supposed to be 10%. Right? Now 10% of what? Well, most people, you say, well, we earn. Most people have jobs and they earn on those jobs money. They don't earn food. They don't earn clothes. They earn money. And they say, well, hey, we want to give this 10% to God in the form of money. Right? And who gets that money? Well, I mean, because how is God going to get the money? Well, of course, you're not going to be able to get it in the physical sense. So what you do is people say, hey, it makes sense to give 10% in the form of money to the church. Because back in the day when you gave your offering, and I'm sorry, your offering and tithes, it wasn't in the form of money. It was a form of what you had. And most people had, if you want to say in biblical days, they had things that they grew or made. They grew, made, or maintained, which is like the animals, right? Sacrifice, lamb, sheep, harvest, things of that nature. But it made sense to do that because what you're doing is you're burning it. I mean, how else you gonna give it to God? You gotta burn it. It's kind of like ashes to ashes, right? You're burning it in the offering. It made sense in a mental form or a physical form because you're burning it, the embers and the smoke and everything go up. So of course you're gonna say, oh, it's going up to God. Right? It's going up to God. Well, people don't give money to the church and then the church build a big bonfire, whatever you want to call it, and burn the money. That would make more sense in the spiritual part of offering and tithes than giving it to the church. But it makes more logical sense to give money to the church if you want the church to continue to be sustained, because that's the place where you worship. Not to mention that you could worship at home. So really, you could be giving 10% to yourself to maintain your home where you worship. But nobody thinks about it like that. Think about giving the 10% to the church, 10% of your earnings to the church. But let's go even further. Who said that whenever you get paid, that you have to give 10% right away? I'm just saying, because a lot of people can't afford to have 10% of their earnings going to the church. They'll do it in faith. Meanwhile, in truth, you know what I'm saying, they behind on the rent, behind in the mortgage, behind in the car note, insurance, lights gotta get cut off, I gotta work extra, water, food, if I haven't mentioned that already. I mean, sometimes you can't afford to get 10%. especially if they cut your hours, right? But you expected to go ahead and give 10% anyway, because the church says, well, that's the right thing to do. You don't want to short God. God said give 10%. Well, does it say anywhere in the Bible that you have to get 10% right away? So what you do, in my plan, is you keep a ledger. It's logical. You can always make it up. You can work extra hours. When you do have it, you know, hey, God, I owe you this. Right? If you really want to think that God looks at it like that. Because more than likely, God understands what you're going through. If you're not going and spending on something else that you ain't got no business spending it on. Right? So, keep a ledger. Keep a ledger. Okay, this is how much I owe. Right? I'm going to give this much. This is how much I truly owe. And you can do it like that. If you want to be true. Now, let's look at it in a more truer sense, or a more true sense. Nobody, unless you are become a millionaire or something, no one has given their full 10% according to you're supposed to give your 10% to God of your earnings. Ever since you first started your job, as a little kid or teenager, or even as a young adult, at some point in time, you have not paid your 10%. Now, how many of you know how much you actually owed God if you look at it in that sense? Nobody knew that. So what you do, you just start, okay, God, I'm going to start giving my 10% from here on forward. Because you understand, logically, you don't know exactly what 10% that you owe God. So you start from anew, right? So why not start from anew today? God, I have not been given my 10%. Okay, but from this day forward, I am going to keep a ledger. If I make $1,000, it was to give you 100. I'm only getting you 50 this week or 25 this week. I owe you $75. I owe you $50. I mean, that's really what it's all about, right? It might sound crazy, it might sound funny, but it's real. You do owe that money. If you're looking at that sense, if you believe in giving 10% and you only get $25, because you know nobody gives 10% all the time. All right? And there have been times that you have not given 10%. And you gave what you had, and you felt that suffice. Of course, I think it suffices. It only makes sense that you're not putting yourself out and your kids out, and you don't have food because you're getting 10% to the church. It'll be different if you give your 10% to the church, and then you go to the church and say, hey, I give them my 10%, but I really don't have no food. Can we get some food from the church? If the church say, yeah, come on over, we're going to cook for you and give you this, that, and the other. We're going to help you pay your light bill. You gave $25. You gave $25, and you need $25 for your light bill. We're going to give you $25 back. It'd be great if they can do that. But that ain't going to happen. So what do? Well, you don't give your $25. I mean, you don't give the $100. You give $25 or whatever you have, right? Just keep a ledger. Keep a ledger. All you got to do is say, hey, God, I owe you $75, I owe you $50. When you do have it, if you ever can come about and even it out. Some people can't, man. They just can't. But at least you try. At least you have a ledger. And when you do have it, then you can try to pay it off. Now, it may sound crazy, but but you're giving 10%, are you not? Are you not giving 10%? If you want to be true to what you think the Bible says and giving 10%, then you would keep a ledger. Otherwise, you may say, I'm going to give whatever I feel. And if you feel like that's all you need to do, then this whole doggone conversation don't apply to you, because you're going to give what you can anyway. And you're going to say bump 10% because I can't I can't do nothing with it, right? But all I'm saying is, if you believe that no matter what, you need to get 10%, and then you need to get 10% right away. I mean, I challenge you to show me. And also, one other thing that I failed to mention: who said 10% has to be money? In this day and age, why can't you get 10% of your time? Does that not suffice in your tithes? Can you not give 10% of your time, or 10% of something, 10% of the use of a building you own, a land or something, to help people? Is tithes really for the church? And then we can get into, do we really need to go to church? That's for our next lesson. Do you really need to go to church? Because if you don't have a church to go to, the church is where you lay your head, where you pray at. Most people are at home. Why can't you worship? Well, you got to go to church to worship? You can't worship in your home? Of course you can. Okay? It's a gathering place. It's cool. I'm not saying churches should not exist. People need churches. But I don't think it should be mandatory for somebody to go to church. Like your mama and grandmama, they'll tell you, baby, you better go to church, or the Lord gonna bless you go to church. Why the Lord can't bless me if I don't go to church? Why he can't bless me if I pray in my house? You know why? We're gonna keep this for another lesson. But you know why I think they say go to church? Because people put their money into the church. And who benefits from the church? The people who run the church benefit from the church. And most people might say the pastor benefit from the church. You can't really deny, in most cases, when you have these churches and these pastors be having bodyguards and private jets and big mansions with 3 people living in it. I mean, come on, man. Something ain't right somewhere. That's for our next lesson.